Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. I just woke up. I have my coffee, so let's go. Oh, okay. Thought I had already killed these guys. Uh, oh, that was a sick backflip. We got a really cool update today, as the video yesterday, holy shit, that video did well. Quite the reaction. Did not expect that. If anyone hasn't watched it, ooh, I don't know if I have that armor yet. Um, yeah, I said I was losing my mind to stripping out baked shadows from Dark Souls Remastered. Which, yeah, it's a process, a lot of work. Um, but yeah, I don't know, really good reaction. Anyway, I basically later that day I figured out kind of the well, I didn't figure out. Someone on Discord, we were talking about a separate issue about a certain tool I was trying to get to work to turn models into an FBX so I could potentially edit them. And, oh, yeah, I don't think that's correct. Maybe. Uh, and, yeah, out of that came the guy just going, oh, by the way, have you seen the TBF button in the Fiverr editor, which is the program to edit the models for Dark Souls Remastered? And I'm like, what? What would the TBF button do? I've never seen that. And he was like, oh yeah, it basically fixes the back faces of the models so the light doesn't leak through anymore. And I was like, come again, what? I'm just now learning about this? And let me show you why I didn't see this. I think it's hilarious that I missed it. Let's click into here. Okay, good. I already had some fivers. So this is one of the map pieces. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but it was one of them I was working on. You click on it, I already have the Fiverr program, and it shows you the mesh, and you basically go into mesh, and this, I was looking around and I was like, I don't see a TBF button. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't get it. Well, and then I noticed there's a little scroll thing down here. And there's the TBF button, which you'll see by default is hidden. Yeah, had I done this, I would have seen the TBF button all along. My cats are going crazy. I don't know if any of that's being recorded, but they're having the zoomies. Yeah, you literally just can do that, and you go boom, done, modify, and then it will basically fix the back faces. Which, if you don't remember from the earlier video, that is where a lot of these models, like, from the front they look fine, but a lot of them on the back basically have their ass hanging out, and they're not a complete mesh in that way. So, yeah. Anyway, what we're going to look at today is some improvements I've made since then. So basically, you'll see these torches are turned back on. That's mostly because I was just down here and I was like, well, okay, let me turn off the shadow source, the shadow destination. You basically have to turn off both because of the way that the illumination works from these torches. I'd love to figure out why that is that way, because I think it really sucks. Beyond that, we had some pretty cool, as you'll notice, okay, I don't want to, oh dang, alright, I got no heals. Now this isn't the most accurate, I don't think. Well, the light's hitting here, but anyway, you'll notice that basically the sun has made its way to Undead Bird. Okay. Whew, got him. The sun has made its way to Undead Bird, and because it was weird, I couldn't enable this, and because as you can see in Undead Berg, it's not as if you're, like, this is just lower Undead Berg. There is the sky up there. I always wondered why the light didn't hit down here, because naturally with the sun and the angle of it, like, you can even see the little, like, lens, or light shaft style things. Like, it should have reached down here, but I found out why. So, on this exact map piece that we're standing on here, as there's like this one's a map piece, and then there's another one back up there that you stand on. But anyway, basically, I think I might die, actually. I just forgot I had no heals. Oh, God. Okay, well, this is going to get real. Woo, baby. Okay. But basically, yeah, you select the map piece that we're standing on. You pull that up. You pull up the Fiverr editor. And, or no, you don't pull up the Fiverr editor. You basically go into the map folder, and you, well, his head is having a rough go there. You pull up the textures, and you strip out the baked lighting. Well, I found something interesting. A lot of these map pieces that I'm stepping on here, the grass down here, they were actually set to have a shadow map that covered the entire thing, and it was just black. Like, it wasn't a specific shadow that was supposed to emulate like sun shadows. It was literally just supposed to be dark, and that was just what they set it to be. So once I strip that out, then you can actually get dynamic shadows from the character to show up, because before they just wouldn't show up. Even if dynamic shadows from me were being cast, you wouldn't be able to see it. So now that I've stripped them out, booyah, they show up. Now, unfortunately, I have not been able to enable that for down here, and I haven't completely figured out why, but thus far, I'm actually getting pretty good at killing these guys. Oh God, yeah, do your job. Do your job. So, weirdly enough, there are basically two map pieces that we're standing on currently, sandwiched on top of each other. And unfortunately, I can't really delete either one, as they are vital in different ways, and they're pretty large, and they connect to a lot of different structures, so I can't delete just one of them, which I think would fix it. I'll keep looking into that, but yeah, unfortunately, the dynamic shadows, like you can see here on this object, there's obviously light, right? And you can see even my character will cast shadows onto the objects, right? They're receiving my dynamic shadow. Unfortunately, the dynamic shadow just does not show up on the actual ground. It's not terribly noticeable, but I have already stripped out the baked shadows on both of those sandwich map pieces, and unfortunately, it just, yeah, it still doesn't show up. So I'll keep looking at that, but yeah, that did not work. We got nice illumination from the fire. I fixed some glitches over here. I turned this torch back on by disabling the shadow and destination sources. And I think we'll just die, actually. I think that probably is just the quickest way here. Well, no, actually, I guess I can run up here, try to get to the bonfire. Let's see. Later, nerds! That's usually what I yell when I'm running past them. They don't feel great about it, but I do. Alright, and we have this torch turned back on. I guess I hadn't remembered to turn that back off. So we have this torch again, and that torch, because this is one giant map piece, the inside of this building. It's really annoying that you can't set, like you have to essentially turn off the shadow settings to have the illumination show up for the torches. Like that's just something that's like hard coded, it seems. Let's go to Undead Parish, because there's another good development with the mod. Let's see. Yeah, this is the other one. Oh, I hadn't noticed this actually. Oh shit. Okay, well that's something to fix, because actually this is a completely separate map piece, or map. This is M10 still, and this is M15. So, interesting. I'm surprised I hadn't noticed that. But this is an example of how they would do the transitions. Like, the color grading is completely off. I actually prefer the color grading for M10, to be honest. Okay, well, I can basically copy the, well, let's see. Let's see real quick. While we're here, let's pull that up. I still have my Prepare to Die project up, which is great. So basically, I need to get out of the depths. And this is actually a good example of, because they're between two different maps, first, let's find the one that we're looking at. We may not need to do this, but basically, as I talked about in previous videos, uh, the Prepare to Die edition has better like mod support in terms of the modding tool. It basically, you can see collisions because the collision is what's making that happen, where the atmosphere changes like that. My character's foot steps on something, and it then goes, "Aha! Here's what we should be doing." And so you'll see this is the door to Sen's Fortress. And as you'll notice, there's nothing here because this map ends literally at this door. Okay. Basically, we need the collision that is right here. And in this, you can't see it. But in Prepare to Die, if you fly to the same exact spot, also, you love the low poly Sen's Fortress. Woof. Um, oh, that's interesting, actually. So in the Prepare to Die edition, there's actually a fake bridge that they put here. It's probably just not visible in Remastered in the map editor. Oh my god. Okay, I can't see. The trees are being selected. It's terrible. Maybe I deleted it in my project. I may have, actually. I probably did delete it. That would make sense. Some of these map objects were not necessary. They were duplicates. As you can see, this map piece is huge. It includes fake Sen's Fortress, trees, whole side of that building. It's pretty ridiculous. Okay, I would like to not select this anymore. Okay, so let's see. On the inside here, I believe it is this collision. Yeah, it's kind of hard surfing through these things. It's not an exact science. I think we're in the right collision. Yeah. Oh, there's a connect collision. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's connecting to 15. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look at that. I don't actually know really how connect collisions work. I've read about them and someone was telling me about them, but I have just not done the work into understanding them yet. Okay, so I'm assuming it's this collision, which is using light ID 16. Well, for Prepare to Die it is. For me, that is definitely not using that. Alrighty, so let's get out of these lights because I was adding a torch somewhere. Let's go to part collision. We need 1042B1. Okay, so this is my current collision in here versus the original settings that the game originally used. Okay, so now I know the collision, and it was using light ID, fog ID, scatter ID. Great, cool, got it. As we knew, um, and now we need the collision for because I actually want to change the collision that basically the bridge is on. I guess I already knew that the light ID was 10. I don't know why I did that. There's a lot of double work when it involves modding Dark Souls Remastered, to be honest. Also, I'm doing this live, so I'm just gonna make a ton of mistakes here, and I love it. Uh, okay, so here we go. I do love that Map Studio like it puts you back to where you were, essentially. Oh wow! It actually keeps the bonfire, or the bonfire is linked to. Well, that's weird. Whatever. Okay. Maybe that's what the connect collision is. Interesting. Anyway, yeah. Let's go. And yeah, I guess I didn't really need to do that. So let's load up Sen's Fortress. As Sen's Fortress, we now see there is the collision right here that we're stepping on, which is H000001. So let's do that. H0001, as you can tell, it is the first listed one. I believe. Let me just make sure. Yes, yes it is. All right. And it's using a light ID of 10, which you would go, oh, well, that's the same light ID, right? It's like, no, that light ID is actually from a different map, and so they're not connected. But it is similar enough that I could actually do that. So if we fly into the param editors where we can do the draw params, because I have that checked, M10 being the Undead Berg one, and if we go to the M10 light bank, we will see the settings here, which I have modified some of them. And we have M1510, which I believe I will not actually use the... So this is the number 10 that's being used on the Sens Fortress Bridge. And you can tell it's a bit different. I'm curious as to the degree rotation of the light source because... No, it is different. Okay. That would explain it. That's part of it too, is that it's using different X and Y degrees. So that's why you saw the shadows move. So I should be able to fix that. If I go back to map editor, it's using a shadow ID of 0. If I set it to be 10 for the M15, because yeah, it's the shadow bank that controls that. So, because if I were to change 0 for M15, I would be changing Anor Londo as well, because Anor Londo is currently set to also use the shadow ID of 0. We don't want to do that. We want to be very careful with that. So if we use 10, and we're going to match it up here. So we have 60, 19, and 60 and negative 19. So let's do 60 and negative 19, because right now I'm not actually using the M15 ID 10 for the shadow bank. I'm not using that at all, so I don't actually care. This is an ID that is completely unused currently by me, and that is fine. We love that. So I believe I had it set at density ratio 90. We also want that to be the same. Oh no, actually it's density 100. Well, all right, well, let's go to 100. We'll set that back if we have to. You'll also notice the RGB of the shadow. I set it to be black. I like it to be as dark as possible, and then I can basically tweak the density ratio, and that will make it less like crushed black. And I'm working on doing that, because some of them, yeah, were a little too dark. And then the other shadow settings, the most important ones are the 60 and negative 19. Everything else I can basically change to my modified settings here, which basically allow the shadows to exist and not completely disappear. So let's do that. So we have 0. Well, actually, surprisingly, that was actually a little bit more. So 0, 230. We'll keep that the same. We'll turn off the calibrate far. And as you'll notice, I have to keep flipping back and forth. I think there's a better way to do it, but I suck at it. So 100 and 200. Okay. Oh, actually, let's turn that to 200 and 300 then. I don't want to go below what it was doing. And then we set the shadow volume, which is basically like how it controls casting shadows on tall objects. So I just set it to a really high number. Okay. So now we have our M1510, which should match the shadow ID setting from before, I believe. I think. So let's set that. I set it on the map object as well. I don't think that actually matters as much as it does the collision. But let's turn the collision that we're going to step onto to be shadow ID of 10. And so this is kind of the test now. We will see, did this make any note? Oh, actually, shit. Always remember to save your params. This is when I actually need to copy both the param and the map folder. Whoops. All right. Okay, so I have the game running in the background. So we'll notice here, so this is what was happening before. You'll notice the shadows moving, not a whole lot, but I actually prefer the color palette from here. I want the M10 color palette, to be honest. You'll notice the shadows on the building as well get a little bit longer. Okay, so let's quit out. Let's reload, so that way it's going to reload the map MSB file. Let's see if we fix the shadows from moving. No, we didn't. We made them different, but it's pretty similar. Okay, that's interesting. Huh. Well, I don't fully know why that is. That's interesting. Pretty sure I said it correctly, right? Sometimes I'll forget a step. So the shadow ID, right, right. 60 and negative 19, and I believe that was 60 and negative 19. Huh. Okay, well, normally I have it line up pretty well. Oh no, I wasn't using. Oh, hold on. I think I did the wrong one. Okay, 50 and negative 40. Yeah, I think I did the wrong one. Shit. 50 and negative 40. Haha. And a density of 90. I think I forgot which one I was using. Whoops. I think I was using 10, but then I went to 0, so 50 and negative 40. Well, okay, so let's save that, because we are using 10 still. Yeah, you can, I'm sure you can tell by this point how easy it is to get confused with like what you're doing, because you're flipping back and forth all the time. Yeah, it's a bit much. I didn't actually expect to do any of this in this video, to be honest, but I figured you guys might find this interesting. If you don't, let me know. You guys seem to enjoy the minutia of modding Dark Souls and sort of the trial and error, it definitely is the scientific method of like, test one thing. Don't go too crazy now. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Now, I haven't fixed the color palette changes, but I can fix that. That's not a big problem. But as you'll see, the shadows no longer move. You love to see it. You love to see it. So that's basically a crash course on making the collisions or the transitions between maps less jarring. The game is pretty bad about that. But the other thing I wanted to show when I originally came here is this bridge was originally completely dark. And the reason for that is, like I was talking about earlier, the baked shadows on this bridge were basically set to just be dark. Like, you just couldn't see anything. So I stripped them out, and now you have a nice, wonderful, dynamic shadow. It's glorious. So I am probably going to change the color palette, because I think, let me know what you think in the comments, but I think the color palette, because the color palette you're seeing here is being controlled by the collision here. And so this is the M10 color palette, is what we're seeing for Sen's Fortress, because that's where we're currently at, and then it converts to here. I don't know, I think it's very similar with M10. I think it fits actually very well for Sen's Fortress still. It's just a little bit more contrasty, which, you know, may not be popular with everyone, but I think it fits pretty nicely. I love the depth of field effect. I love that change I've made. It's much stronger, and now you can actually like see it in action. Remastered was really like, they didn't like using the depth of field, it seems. Let's go to Anor Londo for a very specific reason. A couple updates there. I was really hopping around yesterday, and I was fixing a bunch of stuff and breaking a lot of stuff. So I figured you guys would find that interesting. So I can't remember if I showed this in the last video or not. To be honest, I forget. Anyway, I stripped out the baked shadows on this building here, which is actually shared with that building over there. There was a nasty looking baked shadow over here. It was god-awful. So now we have just dynamic shadows showing up, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. So let's go over here, because we had another great development that actually looked awesome, and it's been kind of on my list for a long time, and it was the big bridge or big staircase that's sitting there, because I always really wanted there to be awesome like shadows from the fencing, and most of the time I just couldn't get it to appear correctly, or it would partially, and well, it turns out there was a reason for that. Once again, baked shadows. The baked shadows were basically ruining it, because I had stripped out the baked shadows from this map piece a long time ago. And that's why you're getting these really correct shadows from these little stone pieces, or whatever the hell you call these. And it looks glorious. The baked ones were terrible, just hideous. So low resolution. And also different X and Y coordinates. But I stripped out the baked shadows from the staircase here and this little portion. And so now you get really accurate dynamic shadows. And on the staircase, you now have a glorious giant dynamic shadow being cast from the fencing. And it looks wonderful. It's beautiful. And, you know, stripped out the baked shadows up here as well. And like, look how striking this looks. Like with the sun hitting the mobs here, them casting glorious dynamic shadows, self-shadowing on their armor, like, oh, the depth of field that Anor Londo now has, like, it's just looking so good. I just want to, I'm loving what I'm doing with this area, because it's enhancing what's already there, and it's just I feel like just a direct enhancement. So I think that's it for today. Although I will leave you with a little treat. Someone in the YouTube comments, I don't remember who you are, but they had a really interesting idea that I'm looking into. They were mentioning how Dark Souls Remastered on the Switch, which I have not played. Well, apparently it features basically the graphics from Prepare to Die Edition and the base, like, Xbox 360 and PS3 Dark Souls. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why would they do that? And yeah, it turns out it's basically a straight port of those Xbox 360 and PS3 games, which is amazing. That's awesome. That's absolutely fantastic, because and it was really weird. The port was actually, like, delayed 5 months, and so it was later. So what I'm gonna do, I had an idea. What if I dump the ROM for it? You know, I dump the ROM for it, and then I crack into those files and grab the MSB files, grab the material files, see what those do. Because if I'm able to use those, and if Remastered on PC is able to accept them, well, I might just be able to restore what the original game looks like for Remastered, presumably. I'm very curious. And the reason why that might, I don't know, it might work, it might not. I'm thinking Remastered probably will reject it, but they have the same name, but they're very clearly, their feature set's completely different between the Switch version and the PC, PS4, Xbox One, etc. But I wonder, did they do some extra work to where it's technically running on the remastered code base, but they're using the older, more accurate to the original game, like material, shaders and whatnot? Because if that's possible, I'm going to dive into that. I want to see what I can do with that. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's something I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna do that. And if that works, I'll do it as like a separate mod and integrate it into this mod as well, I think, in my own way. But I think it'd be super awesome if that works. Just put that up as a mod where people can download and then essentially restore the original graphics and shaders, because it has the original bonfires as well that don't look like the remastered ones. And I'm like, I think that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool if there's like a completely bog standard, like, Prepare to Die Edition mod you can download for Remastered, and it just puts it back to the original atmosphere and everything. Like, I think that, oh, that'd be so worthwhile. So I'm going to do that. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for the love on the last video. I was like, my God. YouTube was like, by the way, people are watching your video more than normal. And I'm like, that is crazy, because that was one of the more hectic videos. I had a terrible crop. because I was recording it incorrectly. So, love y'all. Thank you so much. I love making these videos. So, hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel. We're nearing 1,000, which at 1,000 I was figuring I'll do the classic thing where I'll do a Q&A video. So I'll post another video at some point that soon that you guys can ask questions in the comments on basically anything, and then I'll record a video of me answering all of them. I also do plan on streaming on YouTube soon, and maybe live streaming my modding process if that's something someone would want to watch. I don't know. I've had some people ask me about that, and I'm like, maybe, I guess, that could be cool. But yeah, and then I got to get into the other things for the channel of like super membership thingies and special emotes, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff. So yeah, and so like the video, share the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps a lot. It got the last video out to a lot more people, and the views I'm getting are crazy for the subscriber numbers. Normally you don't get more views than like your subscriber numbers. Transcending that is not super common. So I really appreciate the love and support. It's awesome. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Praise the sun, and I hope you guys have a delightful day.